Hello and welcome to GIBS Business. Today in studio we've got O Reilly, CTO of the Innovation Cafe. Sean, welcome to GIBS Business.
Thanks for having us.
Sean, to those of us that don't quite know, tell us what the Innovation Cafe does.
Okay, so the Innovation Cafe is a crowdsourcing innovation management platform, and it's a company based out of San Francisco, California, with offices here in Johannesburg. And what we basically do is, from a technology point of view, how do we use technology as an enabler to help very large organizations innovate more efficiently.
Okay. Innovation is a big word in terms of there's so many variances and so many angles on it. But how do you make sure that an organization builds itself up to be able to provide innovation?
I think fundamentally it starts with a culture change and wanting to become innovative as an organization. But if you use technology smartly, you can get the right people to focus on the right things that need to be done, and you can actually allow the organization to share lessons learned amongst themselves, and that actually creates a far more dynamic, self-learning organization, and hence becoming more innovative in the future.
Of course, technology has proven itself to be a double-edged sword, in that the more it has evolved, the greater data and complexity it has created. How do we make sure that decision makers can see through all that complexity and big data?
Ultimately, to your point, with all of this activity happening on the ground, what we have to find is context and relevance for your strategic thinkers, your decision makers, and your consumers as well. How do you understand customer, staff behavior, product behavior, and translate it into a way that allows decision makers to make those key decisions? It's about really distilling it down into a form that makes sense.
And how do we go about that?
Okay, so in the Valley, there's very much talk about this topic of big data. What that effectively is very sophisticated data mining using very large sums of customer and interaction data. So how do people use your products? What kind of products are they interested in? And then based on how they actually use your products, what do you iterate on as a product development house? What do you change about your products based on that feedback that people are either giving you verbally or through the ways that they're actually using your systems?
Is that also coming through collecting the data? Is that also coming through technology?
Absolutely. So everything from your mobile phone, just about all the activity that you engage on those kind of platforms are actually sent off to big analytics houses and mined to improve customer experience and user experience. And then similarly, anything that you're really browsing on the web, online shopping and e-commerce sites are typically tracked through ad agencies to, one, push through more relevant content to you, but to also understand your user behaviors as well.
Of course, on a contextual level, innovation really is about making lives better and confronting some of the challenges we face. If you look at where we sit in South Africa and the broader African continent, there are a lot of challenges and problems that we face. How does innovation step up to alleviate some of those?
Well, I think what we have to understand is Africa is a very different landscape to, for example, the United States or Europe. And I think ultimately it's going to be up to the Africans to take advanced technologies, lessons learned from those other markets and apply them in the African context to address Africa's specific challenges.
Okay. And what are some of the successes that you've seen in your work around innovation of big corporates or governments?
Yeah, so I think what we've done is we've done a lot of work with organizations that are typically not seen to be very innovative, such as banks, large organizations that have been around, and institutions that have been around for ages. And also, with the kind of businesses we work with, they're highly regulated. So actually, there's a lot of friction for these companies to start innovating and to start changing the way they're doing things. But we've been quite successful, particularly in financial services and telecommunications.
Okay. One of the misconceptions, or I guess debatable points about innovation is, how do you measure the impact or whether you have succeeded in innovating?
Absolutely. So I think the first whilst no one can really agree on what innovation is, people will say it's more than just an idea. It's about how do you derive benefit from that, how do you implement these things effectively, and then measure that tangible benefit. So it's all about measuring the value of how well something was executed, ultimately.
One could argue, if you look, you mentioned, for example, Silicon Valley and some of the innovation that's come, in terms of social media technology, that you've got concrete examples there. Have we seen anything similar in the work, for example, that you've done in the African or South African context?
So I think from some of the businesses we've worked with, they've definitely applied themselves to smart, cost-effective technologies to get technology into the hands of even lower income consumers. I think there's quite a bit of innovation that's happened there. So even if you think about, for example, the $30 smartphone as a concept, these are the sorts of ideas that are really taking off, particularly in Africa. And now what starts happening is any child in Africa with a smartphone access to the web has more access to information than Bill Clinton did when he was president of the White House. So it is changing the way what the actual landscape is with regards to how people interact with technology.
Okay, super. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks so much.
Wish you all the best with Innovation Conference.
Thank you.